Ahmadinejad comes out of a cult in the Shiite Islamic world, which was actually illegal during Khomeini's time. And this cult believes in the impending return of the 12th, or hidden imam, a kind of messianic savior for the Shiites, who is supposed to come to power in the aftermath of tremendous wars and an Armageddon-like scenario.
Never before in the nuclear age have the leaders of a revolutionary country held the belief that the end of the world was at hand, and that they were chosen to bring it about. But this is now the case in Iran. Ahmadinejad campaigned for president in 2005, vowing to prepare the way for the Islamic Messiah. When he took office, he said the end of the world was just 2 or 3 years away.
The danger of Ahmadinejad is that he believes that this apocalyptic scenario can be accelerated by men. And he believes that the destruction of Israel is part of the key first steps that will lead to Islamic rule over the whole world.
The Bright Future Institute is a religious think tank located in the city of Qum, Iran. Established in 2004, its scholars issue papers on the distinct signs that will precede the coming of this Islamic Messiah, known as the Mahdi. Chief among them, apocalyptic wars in Iraq and in the Holy Land. The signs include a massive earthquake and the launching of a global war to kill or subjugate Jews, Christians, and other infidels.
The regime in Iran has been saying for the last few years that the way to hasten the coming of the Islamic Messiah, known as the Mahdi, or the 12th Imam, is to annihilate 2 countries, Israel, whom they describe as the little Satan, and the United States, whom they describe as the great Satan. They believe that Allah has chosen them for an apocalyptic genocidal moment. They believe if they die, they're going to be in the arms of 72 virgins. And what's more, they believe they've been chosen to fundamentally change human civilization, to kill infidels, Jews, Christians, and Muslims who don't believe as they believe. And my question is, how do you deter or contain or successfully negotiate with radical Islamic leaders who have such genocidal beliefs? What carrot can you offer a leader like that who believes it's his mission to usher in the coming of the Islamic Messiah by killing tens of millions of people?
The Mahdi will first appear in Mecca, then in Medina. He will conquer all of Arabia, Syria, and Iraq, destroy Israel, and then set up a global government in Iraq. Jesus, these scholars say, will come back to earth, but not as the Son of God or even as a leader. Rather, Jesus will serve as a deputy to the Mahdi to destroy the infidels.
This is the nightmare scenario, that the most radical Islamic extremist regime that is already the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism, that is now fully entrenched in the most violent way in Iraq, killing thousands of innocent people, that has called for wiping Israel off the map, that an end to the United States, that has this global Islamic rule agenda and believes in the end of the world, would now get the nuclear bomb.
Such end times theology is not shared by most Sunni Muslims. Indeed, many Shia Muslims don't believe this, nor do most Iranians. But the current leaders of Iran do. Such eschatology is driving Iranian foreign policy. It is why Iran is building nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles. It is why Iran is building alliances with 3 nuclear powers, Russia, China, and North Korea. It is why Iran is resisting full negotiations with the West, because Iran's leaders believe having nuclear weapons is the only way they will be able to annihilate the U.S. and Israel and create the conditions of chaos, carnage, and genocide necessary to trigger the coming of the Islamic Messiah.
They want to concentrate on completing their nuclear program, because once they have that, then they could threaten the West in ways that are unimaginable. They threaten to create a second Holocaust in Israel and proceed on their idea of a global empire, producing 25 atomic bombs a year, 250 bombs in a decade, with missiles that they're already working on. They want to develop to reach the eastern seaboard of the United States. To have such a regime that believes in an apocalyptic Armageddon with the West in which millions will die on both sides. But the Muslim millions go to a Muslim heaven with all the trappings. To have that crazy ideology in charge of a country that is developing atomic weapons is unbelievably dangerous, and it should stop. Everything else is secondary to this.
Will the government in Jerusalem launch a preemptive military strike to neutralize the Iranian threat? This interview was filmed in 2007, before Mr. Netanyahu was re-elected prime minister, but his answers are both instructive and sobering.
It's very hard to rely on deterrence. It is not the same as Soviet Russia. It is not the same as China or India or any one of the nuclear powers today. That you're fairly comfortable understanding that they think in terms of cost and benefit. In the case of a extreme religious cult that has no such calculations, you could in fact face a suicidal regime. Therefore, you can't rely on deterrence. You should work on prevention. That is, preventing them from acquiring the weapons of mass death.
How much time does the West have to make a decision to act decisively to stop Iran?
Not much. We're running out of time. I can't tell you if it's a period of months or a few years. It's certainly no more than a few years. It has to be stopped now.
Few in Washington or Western capitals understand the end times theology held by the Iranian leadership, and thus far, little decisive or effective action has been taken by the U.S. or her allies to stop the mullahs in Iran. This is why attention is increasingly focused on Israel.
Of all the things that are difficult for statesmen and political leaders, preemption is the hardest, because you can never prove what would happen if you don't preempt. So it had the West preempted against Germany in the 1930s. There would have been a lot of controversy and a lot of argument against excessive violence. But of course, millions, tens of millions of people, let alone 6 million Jews, would have been saved. And it's the same thing today. To take strong action against Iran, first in the form of sanctions, and second, if those don't work, using other means, is something that would be criticized, perhaps severely criticized. By the way, less so in the Arab and Muslim world. They just want it to happen. They're begging it to happen. But in the sort of polite, politically correct opinion salons that never get it right, in the West, you'd be criticized, but you'd be saving the world and probably saving millions and millions of lives.